I'm Adrian Lyne, and I directed Flashdance. It was a movie that I turned down twice. I thought it was a stretch, the whole idea of a girl who wanted to be a dancer being a welder. I just thought maybe I can make the dances interesting, but I think it worked in terms of making people go for their dream, you know, which is a sort of a corny thing, if you like. But I had people who wrote to me and who said that it had changed their life. They really had stuck to what they wanted to do. What was enormous fun was sort of getting endless reference, you know, photographs and things like that. I remember seeing 2 light bulbs in a situation. I thought, well, I use that. I remember seeing a kind of graph, and I thought, well, I wonder whether I can't use that for a background or something different.
It's in the pocket when you really, really love it, when your fantasy becomes reality, living inside the imagination.
And so sort of bit by bit piecing it together was enormous fun. I tried to explain to the executives that I wanted to do a wet dance, and they were infinitely skeptical. I remember that. They were all sitting on bleachers looking at me, and I had a girl at the bottom, and I had a hose pipe with water, no lighting, and I was trying to explain that the water was going to fly everywhere, and our body was going to look great because of the sheen on our body. You know, I'm by no stretch an intellectual. Sometimes I have a sort of a knack of thinking that if it pleases me, maybe it'll please a lot of other people. The scene with the water falling on her, you know, I struggled with. You know, I was backlighting it, and in my innocence, I realized that the background needed to be dark. I mean, it's such a fundamental, obvious thing, so that the sparkling water would show up against and I was trying to do it against a white background, which is insane, you know. But finally, I realized my idiocy.
If I come up with a scoop on her, I get Dallas in 3.5.
If you come up with anything on her, I'll give you 6.
I met Bob Fosse, who liked the movie a lot, you know, and he let me know. He sent me a letter. And then I met him, and I said, you know, I ripped off your lighting. And he said, I know. It was a follow spot thing that I put behind the comedian, you know.
Hey, take a walk. Bring on the bimbos.
Look, I'm just a cook, okay? I'm just a cook, all right? And this is my big chance, so if you screw it up for me, I'm gonna put cockroaches in your hamburgers. You got it?
I was asked to do a chorus line by these 2 old producers, marvelous old Broadway producers. And I said, well, I just don't want to sort of get a name just for doing musicals, you know? And they said, why? You're good at them. You got the buttons right. You know what a button is? At the end of the scene, you're like you go out on a high, you know what I'm saying? Just a moment that kicks you into the next one. I had a really nice relationship with Phil Ramone, who was the musical director. And I remember we were working together on Maniac. And I said, well, I heard this great sort of, it was like a chime thing. And I said, I'm sure that would work great in this. And he said, yeah, that's good. So he stuck it in. And if you listen to it, it's this ding dong, ding dong. And it kind of works, you know, for that thing where she's dancing on the spot.
They all say she's crazy, locking rhythms to the beat of her heart, changing moment into life.
Before we started filming, is that I was casting, and Jennifer Beals came in, and, you know, she hadn't acted before. She'd done a little bit of modeling, but she looked just sublime. I mean, her face, I thought, God, she looks good. Then I did a little scene where she had to be emotional and cry, and she cried well, because I think she had lost all of her luggage, apparently, at the airport, so she was in a kind of an emotional state anyway. But that was a big moment. I remember running through to Jerry Bruckheimer and saying, you've really got to look at this girl. She's terrific. So many things are luck, really, but I think you have to make the luck happen. You know, when you're sort of deeply depressed because everybody is cynical about this wet dance and, oh, that won't work. And most of you thinks it's not going to work either. But that you persevere. It's a little bit like the story of the movie, really, about persevering and succeed. I think I must have been doing something right. I'm excited by the fact that people still talk about it.